Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to welcome you to yet another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. It's your boy Jalen. And since last time we've talked, this coronavirus has gotten more serious. I want to implore everyone to be safe, be clean, try to practice social distancing. Um, just be safe, man. Be safe. Be around loved ones. Do what you gotta do. Just, just be safe and be clean. Wash your hands. Um, do what you should have been doing. But like I said, or what I've been doing this month is Women's History Month. So every episode, I want to bring on another woman to talk in sports to talk about a sports topic, talk about a couple sports topic. And today, I was actually blessed and gracious enough to have two young women. I have Courtney Smith. She's a content associate at ESPN. She works on the NFL side, so we definitely talked to her about some of the NFL free agents and some of the big news that we saw yesterday. We talked about Dak Prescott. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about everything NFL. And we definitely spoke on the new NFL CBA deal that they kind of quote unquote came together. And then I have Khristina Williams. She's the founder of Girls Talk Sports TV. She does a lot of things from NBA 2K League, WNBA, NBA. She spoke at the NABJ. She works at, she does, she does a lot of things. And I thought that it would be great to have her perspective as well as Courtney's perspective. So stay tuned for that. I'm not going to be here for too much longer because I want you guys to hear exactly what the young ladies had to say. But some things that we didn't talk about in the interviews were, and I'm going to start with this. I understand this coronavirus affects everyone's way of living. They're quarantining people. They are telling people to stay away from work. We might get a massive shutdown in the United States. I understand the seriousness of the coronavirus. I understand the fear that comes with it. And I understand the fact that especially sporting events are shutting down. You know, you rather be safe than sorry. And with sporting events shutting down, you see arenas getting shut down. You see venues getting shut down. You see everything getting shut down. And with that, there's people that aren't getting paid. There's people that are not, because they're not working, they're not getting paid. I mean, they're not on salary. They just work for the team, so they're not getting paid. And as we've seen players like Zion Williamson. We've seen players like Kevin Love. Steph Curry is trying to feed some of the kids that can't go to school. We see players stepping up and doing their part. And I didn't want to talk about this topic just to praise the players. I wanted to talk about this topic to shine light on the fact that why isn't everyone doing this? And when I say everyone, I mean why isn't it the owners all the owners not doing this? You see Zion Williamson, who's a rookie, doing it. You see players like I said, Kevin Love doing it. There's multiple, and now of course you have Mark Cuban. He said he's going to do it. You have, I think, the GM or the team. The Warriors said they're going to do it. The Atlanta Falcons, I believe, said there's several teams that have said they're going to do this, but there isn't all of them. New Orleans didn't come out and say we're going to match whatever Zion Williamson did. The Washington Wizards haven't come out and said we'll pay for our employees. It's like constantly we see just how greedy owners are. Now, no, you're not obligated to do anything. You're not obligated to pay anybody. But if there's an outside entity preventing me from coming to work, why do then I have to suffer? Or why isn't nobody looking out for me? Because we don't know how long this is going to happen. Like I said, the NBA, excuse me, the NBA, they were saying that we're supposed to be out for maybe, I don't know, maybe until June, July, or August. So you're telling me people can miss 4, 5 to 6 paychecks and still keep it afloat? I work in freelance, and I know I can't do that. So let alone people that's just making ends meet. I just implore that owners, teams, and not just in the NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL. Think about the workers, man. Think about it shouldn't have to be a rookie to say, hey, I'll contribute $100,000 for the employees that's not working. It shouldn't have to be Kevin Love. It shouldn't have to be Steph Curry. Even though, and I'm not saying like they're bad for doing that. Shouts out to them, but I'm really calling for the owners to action. The owners most definitely can afford to pay all of the employee salaries. That's what I implore, man. I don't really like starting on a morbid topic, but that's a topic that's been on my heart ever since I've seen, like I said, Kevin, and those aren't the only players that have come out and said they'll pay. I'm not saying that they're the only ones. I'm just shining light on that. Owners, step up, do what you got to do. It shouldn't be a few teams. It shouldn't be 3 teams. It shouldn't be 10 teams. It should be all 30 teams to pay for their employee, like their arena staff salary due to the fact that they can't work. Not they can't work because they don't want to. They can't work because they're forced not to work. Moving forward, one big news that because the coronavirus has kind of got really overlooked was Rick Pitino. We know the quote-unquote disgraced coach or former Louisville coach has come back and now will be coaching the Iona University. Look, Rick Pitino is one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time. It's in rare air. You got Mike Krzyzewski, and this is no list, but he's in the realm with Mike Krzyzewski. He's in the realm of Coach Roy Williams. He's in the realm of Coach Jeannie Oriyama, the UConn coach. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. And we know about the scandal, the quote-unquote fraud, some of the players, the brothel. We all know about what happened in Louisville. And I'm guessing, and I guess that Rick Pitino has done everything that he needs to do to come back. And this is a win-win for both sides. This is a win-win for Rick Pitino because he's come back, he's able to coach. His legacy, while his legacy is while his legacy has taken a hit, people that really know college basketball and really know basketball in general know that he's one of the greatest coaches ever. So that doesn't really oversee his overall legacy. Yeah, the stuff at Louisville happened, and that's always going to follow him, but he's still one of the greatest coaches ever. And Iona gets one of the greatest coaches ever, which is why it's a win-win. While Iona goes from not really being sure what's next for them to now having one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history coach for them. So it's really a win-win for both situations. I just think it's funny. And no, I'm not comparing what Rick Pitino did to what other people did. But it's crazy how a coach, right? We know about the whole fraud situation. We know about all that. I always wonder how the tables would be different if it was African American. Like, what if it was Howie Smith that was doing all that stuff? What if it was Shaka Smart that was doing all this scandal stuff? How quick would he get a job back in the WNBA? I mean, in the NCAA. I always think it's funny, but shouts out to Rick Pitino. Shouts out to Iona. Iona definitely got a good coach. Rick Pitino has a good young team that he can start mold and hopefully build up to see what happens next. So shouts out to Rick Pitino, now the new head coach of Iona. And before we move on to the interviews, we're just going to talk. I'm not about to stay on Tom Brady. We all know Tom Brady has come out today and announced he will be leaving the Patriots. We've kind of assumed that. That's a wait and see thing. That's the end of a legacy. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. The Patriots, they were done as a legacy not done. They were finished in terms of continuing to win to me because Tom Brady's still old, or Tom Brady's older. The pieces aren't really there. We've seen a lot of their key players have left. And the end of the Patriots, the Patriots era is over. And we kind of saw the writing on the wall when, they were willing to let, and this is not really their decision, this is Tom Brady's decision, but both sides knew that Tom Brady was going to hit free agency. They weren't trying to get a new deal done as quick as possible. That he becomes a free agent tomorrow. So, again, and that's the first time in his career he's been a free agent. So, again, Tom Brady leaving the Patriots, I suspect he might go to probably the Chargers. If not the Chargers, maybe Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or let me throw in a surprise team. I would say the Raiders, but the Raiders just got Marcus Mariota. Cam Newton is seeking a trade. Cam Newton is seeking a trade from the Panthers, so maybe, just maybe, Tom Brady can go to the Panthers. I don't know. I don't know what's next. I'm not no clairvoyant. All I know is that right now, Tom Brady has announced he will be leaving the Patriots. So, and this doesn't, wherever he goes, it doesn't tarnish his legacy. He's still one of, if not the greatest football quarterback of all time, one of the top 10 players of all time. Tom Brady's just in the tail end of his career, and he will be playing somewhere else. It's kind of like Jordan when he went to the Wizards. Hopefully it's not as bad as Akeem Olajuwon going to the Raptors or Patrick Ewing going to the Magic. So we'll have to wait and see. And lastly, just talk about a couple moves that happened. Of course, like I said, football free agency started. Stephon Diggs goes to the Buffalo Bills. That's going to be huge. I think that currently constructed with Tom Brady leaving, the Bills might be the best team in the AFC East. I know it's crazy to think, but with the Patriots and everything. But if Josh Allen can get right and they can shore up the running game, you have so many pieces. It's exciting to see where they're going to be, and it's exciting to see. They have an incredible defense, and now they have so many pieces and weapons on offense. The Bills are, to me, the best team in the AFC East right now. So, Stephon Diggs went to the Bills. Another big move that happened was DeForest Buckner goes to the Colts. All the Colts really need to shore up right now is their quarterback position. Once they shore that up, that's another team that can be viable for a playoff run. We just talked about Marcus Mariota to the Raiders. Austin Hopper goes to the Browns. That's a big move. We just need to see, like I said, that's another piece for Baker Mayfield. It's just how is he going to use the pieces? You still have Jarvis Landry, you still have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Nick Chubb, and now you have Austin Hopper. We just need to see how it goes. Another huge move that a lot of people are not talking about is Calais Campbell going to the Ravens. That's, to me, that's huge. That's big. That just shores up another position on the Ravens defense, which is already incredibly good. So, I'm not going to talk about all of them. Byron Jones goes to Miami. That's bigger for the Cowboys losing Byron Jones instead of Miami getting Byron Jones. The Cowboys do, and with Courtney, I do talk about Dak Prescott getting franchise tagged. But one thing we do not talk about is Amari Cooper signing with the Cowboys. I think 5 years, $100 million. Shouts out to Dak. Shouts out to Amari Cooper. They said the Redskins were in talks of getting him, but he wanted to stay in Dallas, so he shirred up. Jimmy Graham goes to the Bears. I mean, if it didn't work with Russell Wilson and it didn't work with Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how it's going to work with Mitch Trubisky, but shouts out to you. I'm not about to talk about nothing else. And we just have to wait and see. Like I said, news broke today that Cam Newton and the Panthers are working on seeking a trade for him. Like I said, Tom Brady situation. Drew Brees signs a 2-year, $50 million contract to stay with the Saints. That's huge. Not only is that huge for Drew Brees, but that's also huge for Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. See what happens there. So, I'm just excited to see what's going on. But without further ado, I want to first welcome Courtney Smith. Again, Courtney Smith is a content associate for ESPN. She works on most of the NFL shows, NFL Network. She does SportsCenter sometimes. And I really wanted to talk to her about her view on everything NFL, from this new CBA that was passed, from free agency, from the crazy news about DeAndre Hopkins. I know y'all are probably wondering why I didn't talk about that. I talked about that with her. I talked about Dak Prescott getting franchise tagged. I talked about Ryan Tannehill getting signed, as well as Derrick Henry getting franchise tagged. So without further ado, again, I want to thank Courtney for being on. Here's our interview.
I have Courtney Smith with me. How you doing, Courtney?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. Well, I definitely planned on talking about the stoppage in sports and everything, because that's pretty much huge with the coronavirus and everything. But I did not imagine the NFL free agency kicking off as much as it did. And where I want to start is, let's first start with franchise tags.
Okay.
Here's what I don't like about franchise tags. And I don't think players like this about franchise tags either. You have a player like Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
While I might not be the biggest Dak Prescott fan, I do understand the value that he has in Dallas. And I understand that you have until, I think, July 30th or something to get a deal done. But you see players like Ryan Tannehill get massive contracts. You see players like Kirk Cousins get extensions. But then you see players like Dak Prescott get franchise tags. You see players like Derrick Henry, who was 70% of the Titans' offense last year. He gets franchise tag. You see A.J. Green gets franchise tag. If you don't mind, speak on if you have any issues, your issues with the franchise tag, and who teams elect to give the franchise tag to instead of actually giving them a contract. Like, to me, how the hell did Ryan Tannehill get a contract before Derrick Henry?
Before Jackson. Yeah.
Especially and get a deal before Dak, especially after what we saw last year. So if you don't mind, can you speak on that, please?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I've talked about this so much because I am living in confusion right now.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people that know me know that I'm a big Panthers fan, but I was raised a Cowboys fan. My parents are diehard Cowboys fans. That's all I've heard my whole life. And my dad was so certain that Dak was going to get a new deal. My dad was certain that the franchise tag was going to be on Amari and that Dak was going to get a new deal. And in the back of my head, I knew. I was like, the thing is that Jerry is a mess. Jerry Jones is a mess, and the Cowboys are a mess, and that's just kind of where we are. And I think what they're doing to Dak is really messed up. Like, at the end of the day, is Dak a great elite quarterback? No.
Mm-hmm.
But Jared Goff was paid. Carson Wentz was paid. Like,
Ryan Tannehill was paid.
Right. Like, and look, at the end of the day, the man wants what he deserves, and I think he absolutely should get it. Absolutely. And I think that he's doing the right thing by sitting back and seeing how these other quarterbacks get paid, because I think the last thing the Cowboys want to do to have Cooper Rush as their starting quarterback come, September. But in terms of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, once again, I live in confusion right now because not that Ryan Tannehill didn't, just do what he needed to do, because he did. He did. When Ryan Tannehill absolutely positively had to throw the ball, unless it was against the Chiefs, he did it. Like, he did it. He did things, Marcus Mariota hadn't done. So I get it, but at the end of the day, Derrick Henry is the only reason why that offense was successful. And I think that they're showing you who they value. And if I'm Derrick Henry, we're going to see if I can get the deal that I want, because he wants to set the market now. He said that after he thought, he was like, oh, no, I definitely want geek money or more. So, and once again, the market for running back is never really that great, and it's definitely not that great this year when you see how many free agent running backs we have in the league. But at the end of the day, Derrick Henry is the engine that made the Titans go this year, and I think that if they're okay with playing without him, then play without him. Because at the end of the day, when you're using a franchise tag, it means that you don't know how you actually fit. You want them around. It's like putting an engagement ring on your girl, but not actually marrying her. That's what it is. It's like, look, girl, I just still want one time. I'm not ready yet. And it's like, well, what more does Derrick Henry have to do? What more does Dak have to do? What more do they have to do?
Yeah, I think I definitely completely agree with you saying. I think the difference between what Derrick Henry's situation and Dak's situation, I think in Derrick Henry's situation, I think they're valuing the quarterback a little too much. Yes, Ryan Tannehill did help in beating Tom Brady and the Patriots in the playoffs, and he did make passes when you need to make passes, but it's very hard for me to see a player, whether a running back or anything, be 70% of the offense, yet still get franchise tag. That's why I think the team is putting that quarterback position. I think they're falling in love with that term a little too much in terms of the Ryan Tannehill and the Derrick Henry situation, instead of actually looking at Derrick Henry right now is the premier elite back, and he is our offense. The difference between that and Dak Prescott, I think, we've seen reports, we've heard reports about Jerry Jones say, hey, I want to give you $33 million a year. This is where we're sitting. I think that Jerry Jones is being stiff about his offer. I think he put his feet in the sand and said, I'm not moving. I know we don't want you on anybody else's team because we understand how valuable you are, but I am not trying to pay. I think with the when I say I'm not trying to pay, I'm not trying to give you top-of-the-line quarterback money, because we know, just like you just said, you're not a top 10 quarterback. But in terms of value, he is top 10 in terms of value for the Cowboys. I also think that they just paid Ezekiel Elliott. Now, should they have paid Ezekiel Elliott? I do believe so. But I think, we have seen that Ezekiel Elliott's production kind of fell off after he got paid. He was still one of the top elite running backs, but he wasn't the running back that we used to see. And I think that might have jaded Jerry Jones a little bit, saying, all right, are we going to – is the same thing that happened with that. Now, I don't think we should go into it thinking that, but I do think that could be on the back of his mind. Would you agree, or do you think I'm just completely off?
Oh, no, I absolutely think that that's correct. I think you have to look at, once again, the Jared Goff, the Kirk Cousins, the Carson Wentz's of the league paid, and then their teams did nothing. And I think that that's what he's saying. He's like, look, I've seen what happens when you pay people and then they do nothing for you. And he's trying to avoid that. But the reality of the matter is this is still a business. And, Jerry, of all people, should understand that people are going to be about their money. That's just what it is at the end of the day. And, I honestly was very confused as to why they paid Zeke when he still had 2 years left. And with the just the issues that Zeke, I felt Zeke brought, he's had his own little thing, but being suspended, like, you've been suspended, you've been hurt, and I'm still going to throw this money at you, and then you go to Cabo, and then I'm still going to throw this money at you, and that's exactly what Jerry Jones did. Like, exactly what he did.
Yeah.
He did whatever he wanted and still got paid for it.
I think Jerry Jones, and I think he's done this ever since Jimmy Johnson's situation. I think that we all know he wants to be the center of attention. It's not the Cowboys owned by Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones and the Cowboys when we think of his moves. And I think that he meddles too much in player personnel. He meddles too much in coaching. That's how Jason Garrett was able to have a job as long as he did, and he was a habitual 8-8. I think that.
Every Cowboys fan I know can't stand Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and I think that he So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I do recognize the fact that, to me, I think the Cowboys will be more successful when Jerry Jones has other voices in the room that's not a part of the Dallas Cowboys. And when I say that is, if you look at almost all the coaches, except for the one he just hired, if you look at all the coaches that he brought in, all the players that he brought in as in personnel, it's always former Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at it, it's like, why would I do something to quote unquote F the money up if all I got to do is be a yes man? And I think until he finds somebody, it could be Mike McCarthy, you don't know, but until he finds somebody that's able to be like, yo, you gotta chill out, man. Just let us take over, because the Cowboys have a good team on paper. They have a really good offense. They have a really good defense. It's just when you continue to meddle, you're not gonna make the right decisions all the time, and those decisions are starting to come back to bite them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, it's really frustrating. I think, especially when you see who told him that who said that Dak should take less. Was it Emmett?
It was Emmett. Yeah, it was Emmett Smith.
Yeah, Emmett, who sat out, told Dak that he should take less money. And it's like, come on, man. Come on. Like old Cowboys go one of two ways. They either say that Jerry is ruining the franchise, or they will be Jerry's yes men. That's literally the two lines that it falls. And, once he decides that he's tired of being owner, GM, and everything under the sun, that's when the Cowboys will get better. Because, like you said, he's egomaniac. He's definitely a control freak. And I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm gonna like watching the Cowboys fall apart. It's fun. It's definitely fun to laugh at my dad.
It is fun. We talk about how inept the Cowboys have been. And there's another team in Dallas, in Texas, that has also been inept that I want to talk about, that made a huge, huge move in the start of free agency, and that was the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans trading away, to me, a top 3 receiver in DeAndre Hopkins and a couple picks, I think like a second rounder and a fourth rounder or something, to Arizona for David Johnson, running back, and like a second round pick. Now here's my thoughts on this situation. One, you trade DeAndre Hopkins, and people forget they traded Davion Clowney. And both trades did not get a first-round pick at all, for not one. You have an elite defensive player. You have an elite, to me, a top 3 wide receiver. In fact, the year before, he finished the season without a drop, which hasn't happened since last season when he's the only one that did. I don't get I know Bill O'Brien is the GM and the coach. And I understand that you're going to have to pay Deshaun Watson, and they're trying to shore up their offensive line. And it would have been the first, if they didn't make the trade, it would have been the second year they don't have a top 50 pick. But what I'm saying is when you have something that's surefire, when you have something that's reliable, when you have a quarterback wide receiver tandem as good as they've been, you have to get – I wouldn't break that up. Yeah, David Johnson, when he's healthy, whenever he's healthy, is a solid piece. And I do think that they were anticipating losing Lamar in free agency. But it's like, why would you trade away a top-tier receiver and not even get a first-round pick? To me, it's starting to look like Arizona kind of policed the Houston Texans. Am I all feeling the way?
Oh, no. Arizona absolutely finessed them. And I'm so, I'm so happy for Kyler Murray and so sad for Deshaun Watson, at the same exact time. Because it just doesn't, it makes sense from salary cap, perspective. It does make sense because, like you said, Deshaun Watson's definitely going to want more money soon in the next year or two. He's going to be looking for a new contract. There are other people that, have to be paid, but I just don't understand how you can't get a first round for him. Because he's absolutely worth a first round pick, hands down. Hands down. Shoot, a healthy Will Fuller is near. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a first rounder, but he's near it. It's and he's broken half the time.
And that's what I was going to say. They were saying, we have Kenny Stills, we have Will Fuller, and they can give you at least part of the production that DeAndre Hopkins. I said, okay. The problem is Kenny Stills he showed in the Dolphins. Now, it could have been the organization, but he's shown that he's not as reliable as people thought. And Will Fuller is most definitely not reliable because he's always hurt. So how can you say that they can give you the same production as DeAndre Hopkins, yet DeAndre Hopkins is never hurt, and he never drops the ball? I agree with you completely. I feel terrible for Deshaun Watson because it feels like he's one of those quarterbacks that I was looking.
He's going to be ruined.
Yes, it looks like he's one of those quarterbacks that because of front office decisions and head coaching decisions, he is not going to be able to put himself in position to even be close to winning a championship. If you look at Super Bowl, if you look at maybe I think that's why it was so easier for Andrew Luck to retire the way he did. If Andrew Luck played for a perennial playoff team or a team that looked like they were definitely poised to even be in the Super Bowl. Now I get he had injury concerns and everything, but I think that if he played for like a Patriots or if he played for Steelers, I don't think it'll be that much easier for him to retire. Now I don't wish that on Deshaun Watson, but I do think that the front office is really hindering his ability to be as good as he is. Because when you put pieces around him, or when you take pieces away from him, and expect him to be like we see all the time when we look at the Texans, they expect him to be Superman every game, and we've seen it in the playoffs time and time again. But as we saw when they ran up against the Chiefs, he can only do that for so long until it's just like, hey, there's nothing I can do. And I think that they're really ruining his future as a quarterback. I think that I know they're going to try to go get offensive linemen, but you could have found offensive linemen in the draft and not have to give up DeAndre Hopkins. It's like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I told you I'm a Carolina fan, and I genuinely, as much as I love Ron Rivera, I can't stand Dave Gettleman. But I feel like, they ruined camp. I do if things don't pan out the way I'm hoping that they pan out and he ends up getting traded, then, I really will have to say that they never gave Cam the weapons that he should have had. He had to do entirely too much. And that's exactly what's happening with the Texans team. Like, how could you trade away literally, like, I don't know, like, just as big a piece of the offense as Deshaun Watson?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you gave away. Like, you gave away the 1 and 2. Because you're just not, like you said, you're not going to see that type of production out of Will Fuller and Kenny Stills. Yeah, it'll get close, and then they'll probably draft a guy. But it's not going to be DeAndre Hopkins. And it's like, I think that they should have looked at why they've been in the playoffs in the past 4 years and haven't made it deep, because I don't think that would have been, I don't think that DeAndre Hopkins is the reason, obviously. The man played through broken ribs that last game against the Chiefs. He said his ribs were broken. We all knew his ribs were broken.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand how you could trade someone. Like, I don't understand. I'm really so confused as to how they didn't get a first-round pick. Like,
not only him, you didn't get a first-round pick for a player in the Davion Clowney early the season that everyone agreed was at least first and a second-round pick. But they from report, they didn't even ask for a first-round pick. It's like, and it kind of goes back to, it kind of ties hand in hand with a trash organization. An organization where you can have all the pieces in the world, all the decisions that you're supposed to do makes hella sense, but you just go left. It's supposed to go right. It says go right. It says in 50 feet, turn right, and 25 feet, turn right. And then in your mind, you say, you know what? I wonder what happens if I turn left. And then you turn left, and you never get to a Super Bowl. And turn left, and you trade one of the top wide receivers and top defensive players in the league. But, yeah, well, I'm excited to see how next season's going to go, because there's so many storylines, and now that we've established that you are a Carolina fan, what do you think the future holds for Cam Newton and in Carolina?
Ooh, do you want the biased version or the non-biased version?
I want whatever version you give.
I mean, I think just in terms of what would be smartest for Art would be to let him play out the last year of the. You let him play out the last year of the contract. You see what he has. You see what a healthy Cam looks like. And, we go from there. And a lot of people are talking about thinking for Trevor. And I'm like, okay, I like Trevor. Like, I definitely like Trevor Lawrence. Honestly, in my perfect world, this is what would happen. Somehow, Jalen Hurts would fall to the third or fourth round of the draft. We take him in the third or fourth, not first, second. And we let him study and learn here behind Cam. After Cam plays out the last year on his deal, I think it would probably, if it doesn't result in a playoff, first, I think that we let him go and we let him, do his career, finish out his career somewhere else. Because I do think that he's given the best of what he can give to Carolina. But I'm not ready to walk away from him now without seeing what a healthy Cam can do. And I think our offense has a lot of pieces in place. We do, obviously, with the tight end. Greg Olsen has gone to Seattle. But we've got a lot of pieces on our offense that if Cam would have had the 2015-16 season when we were in the Super Bowl, I think that would have been a completely different game. And I just think, I don't know, I think, we saw Kyle Allen. He was cool. Definitely not ready to be a starter, and I feel like we can all agree, which is why, we signed him for minimum. And he'll be the backup, which is fine, which is absolutely positively fine. But I think that it makes no sense to get rid of Cam. Oh, as last year, especially with everything that he's done for our team. We haven't seen him healthy in a year and a half. Let us see him healthy, and then let's go see him.
I agree. And lastly, before I let you go, as we know, the NFL CBA passed a whole bunch of stuff Starting next year, we're going to have 15 games. We're going to have, I think, 4 extra playoff teams. We're going to have, the minimum salary will increase. They're not going to test. You can't get banned or suspended for marijuana use anymore. Shout out to Josh Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. I respect the decision because, it was voted on. Some of the players and, of course, the owners voted on it, and the CBA. It was a vote. The thing that I don't like is when it came out that 500 players didn't even vote, didn't care to vote. Yet and still, you have multiple players upset, about the decision, upset about the outcome. It's like if you fight for your right to have a vote, have a voice, and for situations like this and decisions like this, you then don't pretty much slap in the face of the people allowing you to have that decision by not even voting. And I think that it was about 1,000 votes off. So those 500 could have swayed something. So it's like, how do you then go and fight for your right to have this opportunity to vote and so you don't feel like you're getting jerked around by the players, by the owners and stuff, yet and still you don't exercise your right when decisions like this are on the table. Am I wrong for feeling that way?
No, you're absolutely right. And honestly, I feel like if you're not going to take the time out to vote, and I get it. At the end of the day, it was an almost 500-page CBA. So if you're not even going to take the time out to vote on something that directly influences your life, like it's not like, when people, look, I'm all for people voting in elections, but when my friends say, I don't want to vote because my vote doesn't matter, I'm like, that was a little harder for me to fight because, that, there's different steps to actual political votes. But this CBA vote was literally off by 60 votes.
Exactly.
It's 60 votes was the difference between you having to play 17 seasons and putting 17 games, and having that extra game of extra wear and tear on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just they didn't care enough. And I'm sure the vets, are I'm sure they're very angry. I'm sure they want to know exactly who didn't vote so they can go to their house and beat them up. I'm sure that's how a lot of the vets probably feel.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people are grown men, and I just don't want to hear you complain on Game 17, especially if you didn't vote. I do not want to hear you complain.
Yeah, it's you see players like Richard Sherman and Odell Beckham Jr. that come out against the players that didn't vote. It's like, don't then complain about the owners have too much power and they don't care, and then turn around and not even vote when they're supposed to. Get 500 pages, like you said, it's your livelihood. And there's players like let's say Aaron Rodgers, or let's say Russell Wilson. You get an extra game, so that's 17 games. Plus, more than likely, those teams could be playing in a wild card. So technically, it's 2 extra games if you really think about it. And you don't have another week to rest. It's like you go from games to boom, playoffs, because you had teams. So it's like, again, when something's 500 or so votes off and it comes out you didn't vote, to me, that's how owners are like, see, this is why we don't give the players as much power as we should. And I think
right, because they can't even all come together to agree on something.
Exactly. And not even come together to agree. It's like you don't even take the time.
Come together.
Yeah, you don't even come together. So it's like, why should we even care? Why don't we just? I think that this could set a bad precedent. And I think we just have to wait and see. But okay, last before I go, as we know, this coronavirus is kind of keeping the nation. How do you think this is going to affect? Well, we've already seen the draft is going to happen. Yet it's not going to be open to the public. We saw that this is affecting pre-draft conversations with players and not having, player interviews like they used to. They're not having private workouts like they used to. So how do you think that? And we already know the season might get pushed back. How do you feel that this is going to affect the NFL and just football in general? Because of course we know the NCAA they suspended basketball. We're going to see how long this is going to take if they're going to do football. We saw the XFL cancel its inaugural season. Like, how do you feel like this virus is going to affect football in general?
Yeah, so honestly, before we even get to that part, I think that the NFL is handling this terribly. I feel like you see the other leagues are kind of on pause, kind of trying to figure it out, and they're like, no, we're good. But at the end of the day, I think of people like Tua. Like, I'm a little big Tua Tagovailoa fan, and I hate that he's not going to have a pro day. Like, no one's going to get to see, what he can really do now that, he's a little healed up, he's past his physicals. Like, no one can see that because they're not holding these things because of the virus. And I'm just like, how can you rob these kids of, now they can't, like, yes, people chose to sit out at the combine willingly, yes, but how can you rob them of this opportunity now when you're supposed to draft? Like, then you've got, the way that they're saying that the draft is not going to be public anymore, and I'm like, okay, well, I understand that it makes it hard, but I feel as though when you see the other leagues saying, you know what, let's take a pause, you see where our country is, I don't understand how the NFL couldn't also do that. Because there's time. There's definitely time for them to take a pause. Because the reality of the matter is, April 6th, new coaches are supposed to be able to start meeting with their team. So, we got the Panthers, Cowboys, Redskins, Giants. Who else got to get coached? A bunch of teams, new coaches won't be able to work out with their team in April. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Like, I can pretty much tell you that much. And I just think that they're handling that poorly. But, I definitely think baseball said they're not starting for another 2 months. We don't know when the NBA will come back, if it will come back. I'm sad. It is definitely made life boring. But, at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. We're all people who love sports. And right now, it's about players and the people's hope. Like, that's what this is about right now. And I think everybody kind of got to put their interests to the side and think about this country and if we want to see people continue to get sick or if we can sacrifice for a little while to make this place safe. Like, I think that's really what this is going to come down to. And I'm sad. I definitely want my football to start back in September. But the reality of the matter is we probably won't be able to. If things are going the way our president talked about today, first thing it could be still closed into July and August. Mm-hmm. Cool, I hope that doesn't happen. But it's a very real possibility. And if it is, there will be no football. There will be no NFL starting in September.
Yeah. Again, that was Courtney Smith. She's a content associate for ESPN. I want to thank her from the bottom of my heart for being on the podcast. And the next lady that I interviewed was Khristina Williams. She's the founder of Girls Talk Sports. And she does a lot, not just in the sports realm, but in entertainment. She's a content creator. And I definitely wanted to talk to her about everything that she does, Girls Talk Sports TV, and I wanted to talk to her about a lot of the sporting events shutting down and how content creators can continue to create content, especially in sports, with the stoppage of sports. So without further ado, here's Khristina Williams.
first of all, tell us the reason why you wanted to start Girls in Sports, Girls Talk Sports TV, and why do you think it's so important for women to have a platform like that?
So I started Girls Talk Sports TV for two reasons. One, because I absolutely love sports. And two, I had a degree in journalism, and I wasn't really putting it to use. I wasn't really putting it to use because I was applying for all of these major corporations and all the big outlets to be a sports reporter, but I found that I wasn't hearing back from them. And so I took matters into my own hands and created my own platform. And now, ironically, all of those big platforms are now reaching out to me. So I created Girls Talk Sports TV because I wanted to marry my passion of sports and media storytelling journalism. And also I wanted to give women a voice and visibility within the sports world. I also saw that there was a lack of representation of women who looked like me in the sports industry being represented. So my platform kind of put women at the forefront of that. And, yeah, I just wanted to give women a voice and visibility in the sports world.
And to piggyback on what you said, I think it's great that I know a lot of people struggle with, especially when you just graduate college or when you get your degree. A lot of people, like myself, I did fall victim to it. They want to go, they want to hunt for the big heads early. They want to apply for ESPN. They want to apply for NBC Sports, Fox Sports. I do think it's good that you create your lane. And one thing that you did say that I love is you took matters into your own hands. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand or struggle with. How would you, I guess, advise someone that is wondering how to take matters in your own hands? Like, not saying every way is going to be the same, but how would you advise somebody to do that?
Well, one thing that I wanted to point out is, especially in today's day and age, I noticed that the trend of journalism and storytelling, we're seeing the rise of the blogger, right? We're seeing the rise of user-based journalism, and it's becoming immensely popular within media. So, like, for me, taking matters into my own hand, I'm a millennial, so, I have the skills, the technology skills, right? And I have that journalism degree, so it's just taking your strengths and using them to your advantage. And that's basically how I created my own platform, was because I saw that there was a lane available for me to create and that I can use my strengths of journalism, technology, use of social media, and take advantage of those things and use it to my advantage. So if I had any advice for anyone to get started, write your ideas down and definitely just take that first step, right? Put the content out there. For me, it's not about how many likes or things that I get. I'm just going to do the work, and everything else will follow. So that's the best thing that I can give is just do the work, and everything else will follow.
That sounds good. One thing that I know, I see this a lot, and we see this a lot, especially in the male side, is when we talk about sports journalism, most of the jobs go to either former athletes or someone that has, like, recognition beyond belief at this point.
Right.
Do you find it's harder, or did you find that it was harder for you to start off, not saying you were unknown, but not being a former athlete of a WNBA team, or not being, the face of CBS Sports for did you find, especially early on, that it was harder for you to, I guess, gain traction, or do you feel that it kind of was a benefit to you, if that makes sense?
Well, prior to me getting into sports, I actually was a fashion reporter. So I worked as a freelance fashion reporter for Fashion One Television, covering top New York Fashion Week shows, doing one-on-one segments with top designers, stylists, celebrities. So I actually did have professional reporting experience. And then I want to say this. What worked in my advantage only, my journey is my journey, is that
I had that experience as a freelance fashion reporter, and for me to transfer over into sports, it wasn't that hard because I already built up relationships within the entertainment industry. And so really what happened and how I started Girls Talk Sports TV was I love basketball, and I live in New York City, and I actually play in a few rec leagues here with other girls who some are pro, some are amateur, some are former D1. So I had those connections just through building my community, right, and doing things that I love. And so I had those connections within those leagues. I was helping to produce multiple celebrity basketball charity games. So really what works in this industry and how to get started is you want to network across to the people that you know. Look to the person on your left or right, and see how can you guys help each other. So that's basically how I started Girls Talk Sports TV. Her name was getting a little buzz on the East Coast, West Coast as far as, like, this girl, she's dope. She helps produce all of these basketball events on both sides. I was also doing some work with Dykeman Basketball, which is one of the biggest tournaments, street ball tournaments on the East Coast. And so really what I did was first I looked on my left and right and see how can I use my contacts to my advantage to help me establish myself in this industry. And that's basically how it worked out for me.
And you pretty much answered my next question, which is great because when we look at what you do and we look at what you've done, you just don't stay in the sports world. You've been, working the WNBA, you were at the Big Three, you've been at movie premieres, interviewing movie directors and actors, and I thought that it's great that you have such a platform that you just don't stay stagnant in one thing. And I think that's and it's like mastering many instead of being a legend in one. That kind of makes sense. And I think that, and you kind of alluded to it, because you have your feet in, because you have your feet in so many platforms, and because you don't just stay in the sports realm,
right?
It helps everything else. Is that true?
That's definitely true. For starters, I decided to step away from the fashion side of things because I wanted to challenge myself to do something else, and that's how kind of I stepped into the sports world. But basically, for me, it's all happened organically, right? And just based off that passion and that purpose of wanting to grow the game outside of actual work off the court. I'm building my local community by volunteering as a basketball coach with youth girls, and I've been doing that since I was in college on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays. Donated my time to these girls to mentor and coach them. So for me, it's all about the relationships you build, the community you're building, and all of that stuff will align with your passion, and things will happen organically. And that's how it worked out for me.
Okay, and kind of transitioning, of course, you talk about sports. As we know, right now it's scary out there with the coronavirus. I think it's unprecedented that we've seen not just a league, but we've seen sports in general stop.
Right.
What is your take on the whole situation, and how do you think this will how do you think this will affect the future of sports? Because as you've seen, the NBA didn't finish its season. They canceled NCAA.
Right.
They canceled NASCAR, for God's sakes. How do you think this is going to impact sports, not just now, but years to come?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say that the leagues have done a great job at suspending the NBA and all the major sports leagues and canceling the tournaments. Health comes first. I don't think anyone in the sports industry could ever imagine life without sports, but it's temporary, right? And so I tweeted out something the other day, and it was just content creators the suspension or cancellation of sports tournaments and leagues does not mean that this is the end. This is your time to shine. So as content creators, we can keep that momentum going, although there isn't any sports on live television. Obviously, with the halt of sports, you have the leagues that will have to, reassess and replan the scheduling of certain games or altogether. I feel for the senior college athletes who won't get to compete in the tournaments or won't get to know if they would have ever, won that national championship game, because those athletes work so hard to get to that point and educational career. But the NCAA actually released something yesterday, and it's saying that it will offer a year of eligibility to D1 athletes who play spring sports, and they're going to work something out for the seniors who play winter sports. It's very, very sad. It sucks. But I think that we can all agree that it was definitely necessary in order to ensure the safety of the players, the coaches, and the fans. And then we've seen with the whole Rudy Gobert situation how that went left, but I don't think that Rudy Gobert should be the scapegoat of this virus. He isn't, like I said, Rudy Gobert isn't Agent Zero, the first person to get it. But I think that we should all take the proper safety precautions and measures to ensure that it doesn't spread and we do our part. So it's up that, sports is on a halt, but I feel like this is the time, especially for content creators, for editors and newspapers, magazines, online, digital, for everyone to just step their game up with their storytelling. There are still stories to be told in the sports world, and we can definitely keep that momentum going.
And that was well spoken. And lastly, what's next? What's next for yourself? What's next for Girls Talk Sports? What do you feel is next for you?
Well, in the last couple months, I've had to rebrand, and we started off 2020 really strong with the Essence feature in January, the NABJ Millennial Media Summit. Unfortunately, the NCAA tournaments have gotten canceled, but we have the WNBA draft coming up, a huge summer with big 3-season tour. But what's next for Girls Talk Sports TV is really, you'll just get that amazing content digitally and also exploring more things with podcasts, putting out more segments and collaborations with other brands to, grow the game. So thank you so much for all of your support and for sticking with us. And I'm excited for what's to come.
So there you have it. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Courtney Smith. I want to thank Khristina Williams. I want to thank all you guys for listening. I want to thank them for being on the podcast. Please stay safe. Please stay clean. Please stay smart about your decisions. If they say no more than 50 people, don't go to the beach. If they say no more than 50 people, don't go to the club. Stay safe and stay clean, people. I want to thank you guys for listening. And until next time, much love.
I'm finna stand tall in it, I'm all in it. You be on my back like a cardigan. Call her again, I'm in love with your friend. We be doing dirt, you hide the evidence. It's evident that you ready to ride. Hop up in my Jeep and put your pride to the side. Go against the gang, you must be ready to hide. Swinging on the corner, bang my tail till it pops. I thought I was a goner, pledge to your honor. Burn marijuana, deep diamond is on her. Hotter than the sauna, I met her at Salada. Balla baby Prada, she popped it for the $1. Don't stick around, you should save yourself. But you can hit my phone if you need some help. Don't stick around, you should save yourself. But you can hit my phone if you need some help. I'm stand tall in it, I'm all in it. You be on my back like a cardigan. Call her again, I'm in love with your friend. We be doing dirt, you hide the evidence. It's evident that you ready to ride. Hop Hop up in my Jeep and put your pride to the side. Go against the gang, you must be ready to hide. Swinging on the corner, bang my tail till it pops. I thought I was a goner, pledge to your honor. Burn marijuana, deep diamond is on her. Hotter than the sauna, I met her at Salada. Baller baby Prada, she popped it for the dollar. Don't stick around, she say this up. You can hit my phone if you need some help. Don't stick around, she say this up. You can hit my phone if you need some help. Stand tall. You be on my back like a cardigan. We be doing dirt, you hide the evidence. You be on my back like a cardigan. We be doing dirt, you hide the evidence.